Scene Daddy Interviews.
Welcome everyone to Scene Daddy Interviews. My name is Ian, and right now on the phone, all the way across the country, I am very excited. I have Alex from Osatia. Alex, man, how are you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing good. I'm excited. I'm excited to be on a podcast.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Scene Daddy. Thank you guys so much for having me today.
No problem, man. Thank you for all the great music. We're going to have a lot to talk about for sure. So one thing I want to go over right away, you're in Washington State right now, right?
Yep. I am in the Seattle area. It's about like 20 minutes out of Seattle.
How do you like it there? What's a typical day for you when you're not touring?
Typical day. So typical day for me is just basically busting ass, just work, be a dad.
Sure.
And that is literally it. So it's music, be a dad, and work so I can pay the bills and fund future Osatia endeavors and stuff like that.
Exactly. Well, if you don't mind me asking, how old is your child?
My son is 5. He's going to be 6 in June. So he's grown up too fast. But
yeah, I would assume
that's how it goes.
What is it like, doing the whole balancing act between being a parent and being a musician, because you do so much?
Oh, yeah. So it's definitely a balancing act. Every day is a juggle.
Yeah.
Everything that gets brought up to the band has to go through multiple stages of, do I have a babysitter? Or can his mom, cover this and that? And it really goes out to, my family and, his mom for covering for the times that I'm gone and doing stuff for Osatia. So it's like, it can be done. It's hard, but it definitely can be done. You just have to have, the fire to do it, because it's a lot to take on for sure.
No, I would imagine so. And on that note, so not only do you have the new EP All in Time, probably by the time this comes out, it will have just come out on We Are Triumphant. So hopefully everyone's given it a listen and they'll be able to follow along with everything. We're going to talk about that, in detail. But you also just got out a tour with Devil in the Details. You did almost a month, right, with that tour?
Yep, it was just over like 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it was great. Got to see a lot of the world.
Yeah.
And it's funny because this tour, we signed on to it, and really our EP hasn't come out yet.
Right.
But it's for our EP, which is totally fine. It was totally fine. It was awesome. But it was just awesome, and it was amazing seeing the fans that we've acquired from just We Care. What else? We Care, All in Time just came out.
Sure.
And Anxiety. Those are the only original songs that we have out right now, and it's just amazing to see what we've built just with those songs, and having people come out and love us as much as we do, as they do, as much as they do. And it's just, we're thankful for that, because we have some pretty hardcore fans, and they all showed up for these shows wherever they were.
That's awesome.
So it was a great experience for sure.
That's great. Well, yeah, I guess it does have to be a little bit different, because obviously when we're talking, the EP isn't even out yet, which is what you mentioned. So You're kind of introducing people to all this new music. Do you like that better, or would you actually like to be out on tour when the EP comes out for everyone to have it while you're actually out on tour?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, like I would ideally, it would be great to have the EP out and then tour with it.
Okay.
But seeing all the people that came out before it even came out was just amazing. And also, on the tour, we were selling CDs, our EP, early for those people.
That's
so
great.
It's like everybody that came out, they get to hear all of the music that's on the EP, and then also they get to, grab an EP early before it comes out digitally,
Very
which
nice.
is, it was exciting for us, because those people, they've heard everything, and they're kind of the VIP people right now until the 31st. So
Yeah, exactly. So now, when All in Time comes out, you talk about being able to sell it while you're out on tour. Did you actually play every track live?
Oh yeah, every track that was on that EP we played live.
Wow. Very cool. I mean, you
It was
get to do
awesome.
something, that a lot of bands don't get a chance to do when they go out on tour and they have a new EP or a new album to be able to play. Did you do it front to back?
Yep. So I mean, it was rearranged in a way where so we can have a good live show.
Ah, sure.
So it wasn't like first track to last track, but we rearranged it to a way where our live show was awesome, and
Yeah.
it was really fun.
Very cool. Well, now, obviously, we are going to talk a lot about All in Time, but one thing I did notice is you haven't talked about your first EP, Sky People. Do you not do anything off of that EP?
So, I mean, if you see on iTunes and everything, because like the whole track list of the EP on iTunes, it's all there.
Mhm.
So you can see that there's our Sky People EP has a song called Atlantis, and that was kind of the big hit off of that EP.
Mhm.
So we definitely carried that over to our new EP with some new elements.
Yeah.
And I mean that EP was our start off, and you never know, we can see some of those songs in the future.
Ah, okay.
It's kind of a thing that's up in the air right now. We would love to bring them back, but we just have to see how to do it properly and everything like that.
Oh, for sure. And we'll talk about a little bit of the difference between the two, a little bit later. But let me ask, so Sky People came out in 2014. All in Time is now coming out in 2019. That is obviously a big amount of time in between. And I know you stayed busy for sure, but was there a reason? Well, what was the reason for such a large distance of time, or such a large amount of time in between the releases?
So right now, if my band members are listening right now, they're probably smiling right now and saying, "Alex, you better say this. You better say it right." But so in 2014, I think I came into the band about 2-3 weeks before we went into studio to record Sky People.
Sure.
So they had previous stuff that was written with the older vocalists and stuff like that, but I decided to scrap it all and start a new chapter and write something that was on my heart and what I needed to get out and everything like that. And it ended up working out well, given the amount of time that I had to write for it.
Right.
But it was great. We went down with Stephen Riverman. He's in Longview, Washington. I think he's now in Portland. But Stephen Riverman, he recorded, mixed, mastered that EP, and it was a great experience. I loved working with him, and the reason why, so we put out that EP, and then we kind of went silent for a few years because I went to college.
Okay.
It was kind of it was kind of a very spur of the moment thing because I had these opportunities to go to college, and they were there for a certain amount of time. If I didn't accept it, then I didn't get it. So I had to accept it, and I took a year and a half to go to South Carolina to go to college.
Okay.
And so I went to college for media and cinematography.
Oh, very cool.
So that happened over there. Got a certificate and all that jazz. And then so a year and a half passed, and we were like, okay, well, we're gonna pick this up when you get back. What's gonna happen? So I got back, got all settled and everything. I think it was 2014. Left shortly, so I got back around 2016ish.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
But and we talked and we're like, okay, so what's happening with Osatia? And I was like, well, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it for sure this time, and we're not gonna stop for anything this time.
Nice.
Because we're getting, we're not old dudes, but we're getting higher up in the age area where things need to happen.
Right.
So our whole thing this time around, it's like, okay, we had a hiatus, but now that we're coming back, we're going to do it right, and we're going to achieve what we're going to achieve and not stop at anything. So that's kind of where we're at. We started writing and everything, and once I got back and the demos started going really well, and we're like, okay, we got something.
Right.
So yeah, not too long after that, we recorded We Care and everything,
Yep. Yep.
and yeah, so that's kind of the journey of why we've been gone for so long, mainly because of my ass. But so Justin, Jared, Gianni, you heard it. I spilled it.
There you go. There you go.
Yes, but yeah. So that's been the journey, and yeah.
Makes total sense, man. Definitely does.
Yeah.
Well, let's go over a little bit of the writing process and how things were so different. Because obviously, with Sky People, I knew you weren't the original vocalist of the band, and I didn't know you only had a very short amount of time before Sky People to start writing. So
Yeah.
obviously, that amount of time is probably different with All in Time. Can you go into a little bit of when you got back from college, you're going through that writing process? What was it like for you guys, kind of reinventing yourselves again?
Oh, it was, I mean, when the time I was gone, Gianni and the guys we're still working on demos and everything. And pretty much what's so different about this EP, it's really a culmination of the hardships of all five of us in the past, years. It's like,
Sure.
we want to do something, we want to achieve something, but we have to roll with the punches, and life gets in the way.
Sure.
And I especially with me and my lyrics and stuff, I feel like I have something to say that's positive for the world, and it's like I'm trying so hard to do that, but also rolling with the punches with having a kid.
Yeah.
Life coming back and like that, and it's like I have to pull it off some way.
Mm-hmm.
And all the efforts until this point, and it's all just keep on going, never stop at it, and it'll all come in time.
Sure.
And that's kind of like where the EP name came from. That's where All in Time came from.
Mm-hmm.
And every single song on this EP is about hardships, that I go through.
Right.
But I step out of my hardships and I look back at them and I'm like, how do I get out of this situation and how do I overcome? And that's what this EP is about. And it's so much different because it's all of our lives culminating, and it's here. So
Right.
it's been a journey. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It sounds it for sure. Yeah. No, listening through All in Time, I very much enjoyed, my back-to-back listens for sure. And everything you guys did was really, really great in it. So what was your writing process like with the rest of the band? If they were doing demos while you were, on quote unquote hiatus, how did you end up writing the lyrics that you wanted to? Was it written in the studio, or were you writing constantly with them sending you things back and forth?
Oh yeah. I was writing constantly. We were all writing constantly. I write lyrics almost every day.
Okay.
Just about stuff,
Yeah.
But like it's like so the whole process was like they sent me demos, and I just kind of get the emotion from it, and it's like, okay, this song has this sort of emotion, so I kind of like reach into my database of lyrics and saying, okay, what fits this emotion of this song? So they come at me with the demos, they write the demos, they write all the music,
Mm-hmm.
and then they send me the demos, and I just pick out what lyrics the emotion of the song, and all of what they write is just beautiful. And I'd like to say that I wouldn't be anywhere as a vocalist without those guys, because
Very cool.
vocalists, like, it's like they write all the music, but I come and paint all the cool stuff on top of the house that they built. So it's like the big thanks to them.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I write every day, and it's just about what emotion fits what instrumental really.
Oh, okay. You actually don't need music while you're writing, though.
No, it's all based on emotion.
Yeah.
It's like whatever I feel that day, I write it. And my writing process is kind of just like, I write down what I feel, and then I rearrange it into something that is that is singable, really.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things I thought was also very interesting between, and I like to make comparisons because I like to see how bands have grown, over a certain amount of years. And obviously you've had a lot of changes in the band itself. So when you
Yeah.
go from Sky People to All in Time, there's a big difference, I think. At least I kind of felt it, where it was almost like Sky People you might consider a little bit heavier. There's also
Oh
some,
yeah,
you know what I mean? There's some lower screams in there as well. And you've moved away from that in All in Time. Was that
yeah.
something you guys discussed as a band, or was it just a natural progression?
I think it's a little of both.
Okay.
We kind of naturally, our demos that we were making, we naturally, they didn't have much room for a lot of screaming.
Right.
I, as much as I love screaming, like that's my roots.
Yeah.
I learned how to scream before I learned how to sing.
Ah,
And
okay.
it's like, yeah, so it's like I love screaming. That's I love doing that. And it's all about the emotion in it.
For sure.
But the demos that were being written, it just naturally they didn't call for screaming. So it's just we didn't want to put it in there just because screaming is a thing.
Right.
It's just
Right.
we naturally want to write around what's being given. So that's pretty much why the screaming kind of fizzled out. But
Yeah.
it's not actually. I'm not going to say fizzled out because there is screaming in the EP.
No, definitely. It's just on the
But
it's on the more higher
very,
level.
very little.
Yeah, and it's on the higher level, not
Yeah.
necessarily the lower as well.
Yep.
Yeah, no. And I think that really actually it sounds the way it's supposed to. It's not like you should be fitting in lower screams or anything like that. The emotion and the rawness in your vocals really works in All in Time. I'm just always interested on how that transition happens and if it happens naturally or not. So it sounds like it happened very naturally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it makes
Very naturally.
makes total sense. So I was going to bring this up later, but you brought it up yourself. Can you go into a little bit? You have an amazing vocal range, but for your range and what you're doing, you said you started with screaming first. How did that all come about? How did you know you wanted to be a vocalist? And then how did you make that change or the combination between screaming and then also you have such a huge range in your high vocals? How'd that all come about?
Well, I mean, it's kind of been a roller coaster because from where I started, when I first, it's kind of funny because like where I first had the idea in my mind of being in a band and being a vocalist of a band
Mhm.
was a long time ago. I think it was in 2000, around over there, because I was at a Backstreet Boys concert, and I grew up with pop. I danced on tables,
Ah,
sang the Backstreet Boys songs all throughout my childhood,
sure.
and I went to a concert of theirs. It was my first concert,
Wow.
and they all
First
got on.
concert. Wow.
And they all got on. And a little backstory: it was the Millennium Tour. It's their, that album cover where they're all in white and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah. So for a song, they all got on instruments and started playing instruments and
Mhm.
started singing. And I was like, "What?"
Right.
And my mind blew up. And and yeah, I was like, "Oh man, I want people to play instruments and I want to sing and stuff." And
Yeah.
I mean, singing has always been a thing, but it's like having other people around me and playing instruments and being in a band environment that came up just with that, and that it's always stuck that way. But when I really, really started to be full on about it, I'd say I was around 11 or 12.
Okay.
So that's when I really started, seeing what I can do. And that's when I got in my first band. And it was a heavy band. It was a very heavy band.
Yeah.
So it was like I went from pop to punk, like Green Day stuff
Sure.
and everything like that. And then to like Avenged Sevenfold
There you go.
is a big, and then like what else? Avenged Sevenfold, AFI,
Oh yeah.
The Used,
Sure.
My Chemical Romance. That all was a thing when I was in my first band. So
Okay. All right.
it was a heavy band,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Oh, can you scream?" And I was like, "I don't know," but I tried. So they gave me the City of Evil
Oh, sure. Yeah.
album, and they're like, "Hey, you should listen to this album and like, try to scream and stuff." And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
so I, I kind of like was just going through the crash course of learning how to scream, and
Mhm.
that's where my whole vocalist thing started. Is where I was mainly screaming, but I've always had the singing in the background, but never really taken steps on it.
Right.
But yeah, it was screaming first, and then afterwards, eventually as time went on, I was getting more into singing
Mhm.
because of the used mainly, and I sing to all of my favorite bands,
Right.
and just kind of like see if I can do what they do, and it kind of just sprouted from there.
Any lessons, or is this all self-taught?
All self-taught.
Wow.
So, I mean, how I taught myself was, so my mom, she worked until like 6 p.m.
Mhm.
On the weekdays, and I got home from school at like 3.
Yeah.
And so every single day when my mom was gone, I was like singing in front of my bathroom mirror,
Okay.
just like pretending I'm like in you know, in the music video and just rocking out into a mirror. And
Right.
I sang every single day for a long time, and I still do. But that's pretty much how I taught myself, just
Wow.
listening to other bands and singing to them. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, that leads me into something else that's very impressive. But obviously, I think, especially on a podcast like this, we have to get down to it right now. Are you sick and tired of all the Kellen Quinn comparisons?
oh man, um, oh boy. I mean, like it's natural to for people to be like, oh, he sounds like this, or this artist sounds like this, because with a new artist, naturally people are going to compare them to something they're familiar with.
Right. Yeah.
And and for me, it's Kellen Quinn and Vic Fuentes, or how people call it Kellic. Or is this fusion of Kellen Quinn and Vic Fuentes? Is this Kellic?
By the way, can I add in one more, because I definitely
Yeah.
saw it and I hear it too. Michael Jagman.
Oh yeah, that too.
I hear
Yep.
that as well for sure. But yeah, I would every single comment, any video you guys put out, anything where you are there, that comes up naturally.
Yeah, and I'm not the kind of person that I'm like, doesn't. And I mean, how do I explain this? It doesn't like piss me off,
Right.
but it's just like, I'm not trying to be anybody else.
Right.
I naturally, I mean, I'm not always going to be like, oh, I'm quick to explain myself, because I feel like I don't need to explain myself saying, oh, I'm not trying to be like this,
No,
I'm not trying to be like this. But since we're here on the podcast, I'll go ahead and clear it up. I've had this hairdo before Kellen Quinn. No, I'm kidding. I'm
Love
kidding.
it.
But
Love it.
I'm actually extremely serious. But I've had this hair for a long time. I've had this voice for a very long time, and
Right.
by the time I've heard Kellen Quinn and Michael Jagman and all that stuff, I was already kind of doing my own thing.
Right.
So it's
Exactly.
like I'm doing my own thing. I've been doing this for over 10 years, and it's
Right.
like I'm not trying to be anybody else.
No, exactly. And I think it goes towards, I mean, first of all, I think it's a compliment in a way, for sure. Because for one, all those singers are great vocalists. I mean, they all are. And then one of the things I picked up as well, I mean, as someone who liked Sleeping with Sirens a long time ago, I appreciate in a way when someone might say something like, hey, this is the direction, like Osatia is the direction of what I wanted Sleeping with Sirens to be. And I always thought that was an interesting comparison. What do you think when you hear something like that?
I'm honored.
Mhm.
I love, those vocalists, like you said, they're legendary vocalists. And
Right.
it's like, I would be lying to say that, they aren't something that I have, listened to and, grown with. So them saying that, they're not happy with whatever, Sleeping with Sirens is doing now, but it's something that they feel fulfilled with, because they're like, oh, this is what we would have loved for Sleeping with Sirens to do. and that we're doing it. It's a huge honor because I listen to that stuff and I love that stuff too.
Right.
And to be compared to that is huge.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. And that's why I had to bring it up. It just seemed like a natural progression there to bring it up. So
Yeah.
you're hitting a ton of high notes. Obviously, we've talked about that, especially if you're going to be compared to Kellen Quinn.
Yeah.
Now, for that specific part of your vocals, do you have to do any special, warm-ups? Do you have to do anything special to be able to hit that? Or is that just really natural to you by now?
By now it's kind of like, since, I've really grown with touring and everything and seen what my voice can do over time. It's something that, I always have to warm up for because, hitting those types of notes, using that sort of tension on your vocal cords, it's not something that is, I'd say, easy because, it's a lot of tension on your vocal cords to hit those higher notes. There's a lot of warm-ups that I have to do so I don't damage it. And, a lot of lip trills.
Oh, sure.
Sirens where you go up and down and, stretch your vocal cords. I have to do a lot of that because if you just go straight into it and just try to hit those high notes, you can bust something in there and it won't be pretty. So it's,
Right.
So there's a lot of warm-up that I have to do, but I'd say now it's becoming more and more like muscle memory.
Oh, okay. Now, one of the things also about All in Time is that there are lots of parts where it seems like if you were doing it live, which you just did, that you would need some type of a backup. Is anyone in the band backing you up because there's a lot of like, you finish a note and then you're right on the next note, which might be very difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And right now, as much as I would, I'd love it, there are no backups. So
okay.
So I have to do all the things that are on there, which is fine to me. But where the places where I need to rest, I have to, take a breath, and a couple words might be not said, but given for someone that doesn't have a backup,
right
at this time we're working on getting people to sing the parts where I need to breathe.
Okay.
But it's not the easiest thing because there's a lot of people that can't hit the notes that I can.
Exactly.
So it's like it's kind of tough for them. So it's either for live setting, they can like scream a line or something, just for hype or something like that, and so I can breathe. That's definitely something that would happen.
Okay.
But no backups as of now.
That's even more impressive then. So well done for sure. So another thing that I liked with All in Time is the artwork, and I don't often get to talk about this on the show. There's a very, very colorful skyline, and there's that very actually colorful tree, but it's set in the background, and it has this almost like a lonely feel to it while still being, positive and optimistic.
Oh, yeah.
Can you go into that a little bit?
The story behind the artwork, when we first were, in the very bare bones stage of this EP, we've always wanted to carry the sunset theme kind of thing. So that definitely carried over to this, and it's like the sunset is just something, it's actually a lot deeper to me personally, but I'll go into that. But like it's the sunset, it represents so much, and it's something beautiful. And to me, the sunset, I even have a tattoo on my left forearm, where there's a sunset and it has face there. It has the lettering face, under it. But basically, where it ties into everything that is said on the EP, and my whole idea of the EP, it's really based on faith, not exactly with, God and everything, but faith that things will get better. So, the sunset representing, a new time, days coming to a close, the night and everything like that. And there's going to be a new day. And it's really about, having faith in yourself to achieve the things that you want and really just keep going. So that sunset means a lot. And how colorful it is. It's just we really want it to be uplifting,
Hmm.
something where you look at it and you can see some sort of serenity, some sort of calm,
Right.
because everybody's lives are so hectic, and there's so much shit that happens in people's lives that when you listen to this EP, when you see the artwork and everything like that, we want some sort of escape from that.
Right.
So that's really where we were coming from with the artwork, for sure.
So then, when we talked about the lyrical message of All in Time, when you're actually singing it live, when you're going through everything, is it almost an escape for you when you're done, when you've belted out those tracks? Is that almost like an escape for you as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Everything that I wrote for this EP is my escape.
Hmm.
So it's like I wrote these things about the shit that goes on in my life, but also, from a perspective where I can overcome it.
Right.
So it's a lot of a self-therapeutical kind of thing. So it's like I'm out there and I'm singing these lyrics and singing to these people and bonding with people that feel like me, and it's definitely something that is, freeing for me also.
Right. Absolutely. Well put, for sure. So we're going to switch gears a little bit here, and I wanted to talk about some of the features that you've done, because that's
Yep.
also something that takes up a good amount of your time. And one of the ones that I thought was really, really interesting was when you did the cover, You Know What They Do to Guys Like Us in Prison, for the Ghost Killer, that Three Cheers Encore compilation. And that album means so much to so many people. And in my opinion, you are one of the bands that really pulled off, the passion that's in that album. I really enjoyed your cover. How did that all come about?
Oh, man, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. How did Ghost Killer get to you? Did you get to choose what track you wanted to do? What was that process like?
So, I mean, really, the process was, they had this whole entire thing planned out, and we came in kind of towards the end, and they're like, "Hey, we have this track that is left over. Do you guys want to do it?" And they said the name, and I personally, I almost cried because that album,
Yeah.
that album means so much to me,
Yep.
and I grew up with that album, and that track in particular was one of those songs that I sang in my bathroom mirror.
Right.
And grew up on, and that's where my vocals came from. So when they asked us to do that, I was like, "Yup, we're doing it." And we did it, and it was just being able to sing that is just something that's crazy. And yeah. So,
well, while you were actually doing the vocals for it, how did you feel? Were you worried about messing up? Were you worried about not capturing exactly what you wanted? And then also, did the rest of Osatia, did they also have to go through the composition of the track and slightly change it and make it their own as well?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, we all were very nervous, because if you mess up My Chemical Romance, then
yeah,
that can be something that is very bad.
Right.
But I mean, we were all very nervous, and even till this day, it's like, we're like, oh, we hope we did it justice,
Right.
because it's very nerve wracking. So we definitely tweaked a little bit.
Mhm.
I did exactly what I could with my voice
Mhm.
to kind of not match his, but do it justice,
Right.
and make sure all the melodies were up to par. But I did modify it a little bit at
Sure.
the end with my vocals.
Mhm.
I went a little bit higher and did my thing a little bit, which was also very nerve wracking, because you never know who's gonna how people are gonna react to that. But overall, I mean, the reaction we've gotten from it, I think we did an okay job.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think you guys did a great job. So, absolutely. So, let me ask you, and I mean, I'm sure you've been asked this kind of stuff before, but it kind of works with talking about, My Chemical Romance.
Yep.
If you were able again to do any song that they've had in their discography, would that still be the one, or would you choose another one?
I wouldn't say, well, I love, that's one of my favorite bands. So if I were to pick,
Hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't say that would be the one,
Okay.
but that's definitely one of my favorite songs.
Right.
Don't get me wrong,
For sure.
but um, I don't think that's the one we would have picked because personally, which I don't know, I don't know what I can say, but personally, the next album, Black Parade, I would love to do a song off of there.
Okay. All right.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Hey, totally understandable. Maybe that's a hint. We'll see in the future.
All hints.
There we go. That works. That works fine. So let's move on from
Yeah.
there. And I want to bring up another feature that I enjoyed that came out very recently. Actually, one of my favorite bands out there right now, Saving Vice. You did the whole.
Oh, Saving Vice.
Yeah. You did Black Ice, the acoustic version.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very interesting to bring you in for that track because it worked, for one, it worked very well. But then also, you're going back and forth with Tyler. He's one of the main vocalists out of two with Chase in that band, but you came in to go even higher on the track itself. So the first question would be, how did you get together with those guys in the first place? And then the second would be, how did you guys actually compose that to make it flow so well?
So they came to me and they're like, "Hey, we have an acoustic track. We'd love to have you on there." They sent it to me and I listened to it and instantly I was like, yes, because the instrumental is it's beautiful. Tyler's vocals, you can hear the emotion in his vocals, and that's what I cling to the most is the emotion of it all,
right.
And the emotion of the song, of what's being said in the song, and then also Tyler's vocals and what he can portray emotionally is what really grabbed me. And they sent me the song. They're like, "Hey, these are your parts and everything like that." I listened to them. There's a lot of back and forth in the pre-production. I recorded, since we are on opposite sides of the country.
Right.
I record it in my own personal studio. They record it in their studio, and we kind of go back and forth. So that's pretty much how we came about it in the start of, the feature and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. No, it definitely was.
So, I mean, it's like the whole pre-production process, like we go back and forth and say what works and what doesn't. So I sang my parts and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And they really liked it. So I'm grateful for that.
No, absolutely. All right, Alex. So let me ask you now, switching gears once again, back to Osatia and back to everything you guys are doing. So now with the EP All in Time coming out on the 29th of May, do you plan on doing another touring cycle? How do you plan on getting everything out there for everyone?
So the EP is coming on the 31st.
31st. Damn it. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, it'll be out on the 31st.
Yep.
Yeah, so we are in planning right now for another tour after the release. Mm-hmm. But we're really in the bare bones stage of it. We really want to cover more ground.
Okay.
So we could probably, maybe expect. We've already hit the West Coast, so we're trying to go out to the Midwest and the East Coast.
Awesome.
So that's really what our bare bones plans are at the moment.
Sounds good. Well, man, I think we covered a ton. I'm sure we're going to be able to have you back on the show at a later date, especially I know you're going to be working on brand new Osatia music. So I very much enjoyed this. Yeah, for sure. What we're going to do is we're going to have links in the description of the episode so everyone can follow you guys so that they can pick up All in Time, see where you're going to be touring in the future. But until then, what's the best way to support you guys?
So right now, if you want to check us out on Spotify, give us a follow and, just keep an eye out on all of our social media pages like Facebook, Instagram, Apple Music. We're all on that all the time. And yeah, just get ready for this new EP. I'm so excited for it.
Absolutely, man. I've been a fan of Sky People and then also now All in Time. So I'm very glad that we got a chance to do this for sure. So once again, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I wish you the best of luck with All in Time.
Thanks so much, man. Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to Scene Daddy Interviews.
Thank you all for listening to Scene Daddy Interviews. Make sure you support the artists we featured by checking out the summary of the episode. Also, for all your scene news, reviews, and memes, make sure to follow Scene Daddy and Ian Hates on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe and rate Scene Daddy Interviews on your favorite podcast listening app for more great artist interviews in the future. Stay scene.